All right. Well, for the purpose of time, we'll get started. Hey, Minerva, where are you calling from, or where are you located right now?
I'm in Brooklyn currently.
All right, Wepa for Brooklyn. All right, guys. So let's get started. So you're currently in the session titled "Succeeding Along the Clinical Track from Assistant to Full Professor." My name is Nelson Sanchez. I'm an associate professor of clinical medicine at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York, New York. Our presenters today are Pedro Mancias and Larissa Velez. I'm just going to read their bios and then we'll jump into the slides. Dr. Velez obtained a bachelor's degree in sciences from the University of Puerto Rico. She completed medical school in 1996 and went on to pursue residency training in emergency medicine, also at the University of Puerto Rico. She moved to Dallas in 1999 in order to train in toxicology. After finishing her fellowship training, she remained as full-time faculty at UT Southwestern. There she's served in a variety of roles for the emergency medicine training program, most recently completing an 8-year tenure as the program director. Currently, she is the vice chair for education in the Department of Emergency Medicine. In this role, she helps with program strategy and oversight of the core program and its affiliated fellowship programs, 3 ACGME and 4 TMB accredited fellowships. In 2019, Dr. Velez assumed the role of Associate Dean for Graduate Medical Education. The office provides institutional sponsorship and oversight for over 180 training programs with a combined workforce of close to 1,500 residents and fellows. Thank you, Dr. Velez. Dr. Pedro Mancias is the Adriana Blood Professor at McGovern Medical School in the Department of Pediatrics, Division of Child and Adolescent Neurology. He is involved in the education of medical students, residents, and fellows. He is a graduate of UT Houston Medical School, now called McGovern Medical School. He completed his pediatric training at UAMS in Little Rock, Arkansas, and completed his child neurology and neurophysiology fellowships at UT Houston. He is currently Assistant Dean in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and advisor for the local LMSA chapter, and also a member of the LMSA Advisory Council and an FPAC advisor. He is a native Texan, born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. His passion is in helping underrepresented students succeed in their chosen areas of study in medicine. His motto in dealings with challenges is "Si se puede." So thank you, Dr. Mancias. And let's get started. Let me go to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to be advancing the slides. Can anyone is anyone having difficulty viewing the slides? Just let me know in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on the chat messages. Audio and visual, okay?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so let's get started. All right, so learning objectives for this session, we're going to outline expectations when moving from assistant to full professor. We will demonstrate how conducting Latina, Latino, Latinx related work can facilitate promotion. And we're going to summarize available resources to support promotion.
I had Nelson put this in there. I can remember my abuelita always telling me, hace más el que quiere que puede. And that's a motto that I've used and I think has served me quite well.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Pedro. So if you're any at the, I think the first session or second session, I think Dr. Norma Pearl-Hunter highlighted the paucity of Hispanic faculty at our nation's medical schools. As mentioned in that presentation, in the 2020 census, 18.7% of Americans identified as Hispanic. And as you can see here, this is a snapshot of US faculty in 2020. You could see at basically all ranks, particularly at assistant and professor level, there's poor representation within the Hispanic Latino community. So let's see, for professor, 2.6, 1.6, that's not even 5%. and we're barely at 7% at assistant professor level. So considering that the national representation of Hispanics is at 18.7%, we have not achieved parity at the medical school faculty level. Some obstacles for promotion for LHS faculty include a lack of understanding the academic landscape, lack of mentors in positions of power, a little time for discovery of self, a minority tax. We're always asked to serve, be it on diversity committees or helping students of color, and then not being offered protective time to do the work. Stereotypes of members of our community and our culture kind of encouraging us to possess a more passive role and not, asking for things or being more assertive in our quest to be promoted. So I want you to use the chat box to answer some questions that we'd like to pose. Try to make this as interactive as possible. You can, in the chat box, tell us what is your passion, what gives you fulfillment, or describe what plans you have for the next year or 5 years, and any promotion obstacles. So we can start if you feel comfortable telling us what your passion is. Anyone in the group want to share what their passions are, what's fulfilling professionally for them? We have a quiet group. I'm going to see if Minerva's there, if she wants to share any of her perspective. Minerva, would you like to share your thoughts on any of these questions? Triple threat. Are these your passions, Minerva? Triple threat, excellence in clinical care, research, and education. Any plans for the next year, few years, any promotion obstacles you want to share? Okay, so Minerva's planning to get promoted from assistant to associate. Okay, all right, well, hopefully we can help facilitate that over the course of this session. Okay, all right, so we'll move on.
So here we see, the timeline when we're in academia, and certainly it's not an instant gratification type of process. And I think that's what you need to understand and appreciate, that it's going to take time, and there are time limits, that you can't get over because one level needs the other level. So when we talk about promotion, we're usually talking about 6 years, give or take a year or two, between going from the entry level, like an assistant professor, instructor, going to an associate professor, and then going to a senior level. And so I think that's really, really important, to be patient with yourself, that, it's not going to be done, faster, probably not slower, but you can impede your own progress. So just to be, there's importance to reach out to others and, ask how they've done it, and just to be patient with yourself.
And I wanted you to see this slide because Pedro and I are in the same healthcare system in the same state. So we work for the UT system, but our institutions are a little bit different. And every institution is a little different in how they look, how many tracks they have for clinicians, how they look at those tracks, how promotion and tenure works. And what they emphasize the most or what they give the most value to. So as you can see, I'm at UT Southwestern. We just started a new clinician track because the university recognized that there are people who have very little opportunity to teach, very little opportunity to do research or scholarship. And they're spending a lot more time in the clinical, direct kind of patient care activities. The majority of the faculty at UT Southwestern are in what we call the clinician educator. So this is a clinician kind of discussion what we're having today. But the truth is that the majority of the institutions in academia, regardless of the track, are going to require you that they're going to require of you that you develop yourself as a whole academician, or what is used to call the triple threat, that you are a good educator, that you are a good clinician, and that you produce, some degree of scholarship. And as we go down in these tracks in the slide, there's less requirements for patient care, more requirements for research. So it's important to know what track are you in, what are the requirements of the track at your particular institution. As you can see, UT Health or McGovern has a very different structure than UT Southwestern. And in each institution, we have different characteristics for the tenure or the tenure accruing tracks. So you might be on any of these career tracks and not have tenure or not be tenure accruing, and you might. So important to set that up from the get-go or to make any changes as you go and have discussions with your chair as to whether you're in the right track or not, depending on how your career progresses. Next.
Okay, this is, I put here an example of our promotion and tenure committee decisions. So obviously at the top, you have the tenure track, which most of us do not get into. I'd say that would be the minority of people, especially in our shoes, for example. So I'm going to concentrate more on the non-tenure track at the bottom. And so traditionally, people come in, so as an assistant professor, and at the minimum, you're going to be at that assistant professor level for 3 years. Usually it's between 3 and 5 years, to be honest. And then you get promoted to the associate professor, again, another 3 to 5 years. And then finally, after review with the Faculty Appointment Promotion Tenure Committee, you make it to professor. Obviously, you're doing all this work in between that time. There are positions that you need to be reviewed by the promotion committee, like this one. But if you came in as an instructor, for example, and you became assistant professor, you don't need to go through that. So that's important because you have to do a lot of paperwork to go from one to the other. If anybody is interested in more information about our faculty promotion tenure committee, I could give them that, but I don't think for our purposes, we need to go to those details. You are allowed 2 changes in tracks if you wish, but it's very difficult because time is of essence, right? Time just flies before you know it. I was just looking back at my CV and I said, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 27 years. That's crazy. That's where all my hair went too, so. Okay, next. So when thinking about things that will promote you in the clinical arena, clinical service is certainly highly valued for its role and discovery, okay? Volume, of course, because all our clinics are full, is important. And of course, not just volume, but quality and the impact of your work. Other things that can be very helpful for promotion on the clinical side is quality improvement projects. So if you hear of something or you have ideas, you should ask around, and the hospitals systems are looking for these sorts of projects. Developing or expanding clinical programs. So maybe you're a resident in a program, you say, geez, I think we could do this better, this way, that way. Get involved with those things. Also, if you're a techie in techniques, instrumentation, procedures, those are other areas that can help you for promotion. And of course, leadership in the clinical setting. So if you're the first one there and you're, telling people, hey, this is a better way to do it, or let's set up another subcommittee, those are all really, really helpful. Next. My next, yes. Administrative activity is also important in the institution, but it's rarely the basis for promotion because everybody has to do that, okay? So committee work could be at the division level in your own department, departmental level, at the school level, the whole university, at your hospital, or in a society that you may be involved. And you should try and get involved as much as you can without making sure that you're not having a negative impact in other areas. Other things that can be very helpful are being part of grants and guideline papers, paper reviewing, and then of course, leadership areas like division director, vice chair. So when those positions are noted to be open, consider those if you want to keep moving along in the track. And then leadership roles are important for promotion to the senior ranks later on in your career. Next.
So regardless of the track that you're in, there's sort of a similar packet that's going to have to be submitted to the promotion and tenure. And it all starts at the department or division kind of level. I would encourage you to kind of ask if your department has a review committee that advises the chair or the division chief, whoever is making that promotion recommendation to the dean. You want to make sure that somebody's looking at your packet and your candidacy, and also that committee can help you as you kind of go from year one of employment all the way to the year where you're going to be hopefully promoted. They can help look at your CV, look at your activities, and kind of steer you in one direction or the other. So having a departmental committee is very important. If your department doesn't have one, I would highly encourage that you ask that one gets created. There's also important to have representation of your specialty in the institutional promotion and tenure committee. Nobody knows your specialty better than somebody in your department. So it's important to have those people kind of speaking on behalf of those who are being assessed for promotion, to have that voice at the institutional level. In general, that departmental committee is going to advise the chair. Ultimately, it is a departmental chair who has the ability to nominate a person for promotion and tenure. Some people require more than one letter, especially if you have joint appointments between two clinical departments. So you will require the support from that level of leadership in order to be promoted. Nobody in an institution gets promoted without a chair kind of vetting that. Most of the institutions will ask you to provide some sort of narrative or personal statement or a statement of your career that summarizes your tenure at that particular rank. So be ready to put together something that explains and summarizes your career, your goals, your mission as a clinician in that institution. Important that your CV needs to be updated and needs to be in the right format. Every institution requires a specific format for the CV, and there's nothing more irritating than have a CV that is not in the right format or has errors or is really not updated to the moment that you get submitted for promotion. The teaching portfolio is very important. It's more important for the clinician educators, but for the clinicians, you still are required to have, as part of your academic portfolio, to have some sort of presence where you're teaching people. And think about all the people that you might be kind of teaching. It might be medical students, it may be APPs, respiratory therapists, nurses, residents, fellows, paramedics. There you might be teaching a variety of people. As you go in your career, whenever you're doing teaching, you should try to make sure that it gets evaluated and that those evaluations come back to you and get saved somewhere, so that when it's time for promotion, those things are available to the department to advocate for your promotion. Teaching evaluations are equally important. Whenever you encounter someone, make sure that they are filling an evaluation. In our institution, we do annual faculty evaluations that look at all our teaching activities, and the residents and the medical students evaluate the faculty. So make sure that stuff is happening, and that, again, that it is saved, attached to your name. So 3, 4, 6 years later, when you're going up for promotion, you can drag all that data to support your candidacy. If you're in the clinician track, you're going to be doing a lot of clinical service. So you want to make sure that you're getting adequate data about the quality and the quantity of your clinical service. Things like RVU, Press-Ganey scores, or whatever quality metrics your hospital uses is very important for the promotion and tenure group. If you have grant support, and we always thought about grants as something that researchers can get, but now there are many grants if you're advancing DEI initiatives, or if you're advancing things like developing new clinical service lines, or you are looking at quality and safety. So look for grants. If you get a grant, especially nationally supported kind of grants, it's very important for the promotion and tenure committee, because it tells them that you have a footprint outside of your institution. They usually will ask that you submit a series of copies of representative publications that you think are important and kind of speak to your academic kind of publications. And then you will have some letters of support or references. Depending on the institution, at UT Southwestern, we actually do phone calls to the references. So we ask you to submit 6 references, and we actually do phone calls to all those people. Next one.
Is that me?
Yeah, I think Pedro, that's you.
Okay. So obviously in the promotion packet, there are certain elements, and obviously as Larissa was talking, clinical care is very important. And obviously the people in the clinics are making sure that, the Press-Ganey scores are good, because that shows a reflection of what we do. But awards and clinical service is important. Also, scholarly activity that has to be documented and must demonstrate some impact in that field. So you can't just say, well, I did this, I did that. You have to have something that you have in hand that you could put in your CV. Of course, teaching activities, we all do it. It's just part of what we do. We wouldn't be in medicine. And we get judged for, our teaching activities. And so it's nice to have excellent reviews that will help you in your promotion. And so other things that we do include mentoring. It could be medical students, it could be residents, it could be junior faculty, and that goes a long way too. And then other things that you can be part of is development of CME credits. The other thing, scholarly work, including research, full-length publications, editorials, chapters, abstracts, oral presentations that you might not think are important. It's important to document everything that you do. Even a case report, they say one's a case, two's a series. So even if you have 2 patients of something, publicize that, get it published. That's really important. Other things, editorials and chapters and review panels. And then electronic scholarship counts. And now that's changing. That's something that we would have never thought. So a lot of this is electronic, and it's much, much easier to submit and get that documented. And then, of course, you have to be a good citizen, by providing service to the institution. especially in committee service, for example, leading regional or national organizations. And again, remember, you are trying to make yourself known as an expert, and you're dedicated to your school. And of course, for patient care is really, really important. And so any awards that you get, it's really important to highlight those too. And then, of course, developing new programs or approaches that may improve safety or efficacy of healthcare delivery. And boy, this is what we talk about all the time. How can we deliver better care to a vulnerable population? And so all of those things are very, very helpful in promotion. Next.
Yeah, I would just quickly add to this. You can even develop your own evaluations. You may feel silly, even like doing bedside teaching with a student or resident, you may feel silly asking a resident or student to complete an evaluation for yourself. But, if you accumulate several of these, if residents and students are writing beautiful things about how you're a great bedside teacher or a mentor to them, this can go into your promotion packet, right? And some of your institutions may highly value that. If you give a lecture just to 10 students, you can just create like 6 or 7 questions on a piece of paper, just asking the trainees that participate in your session to evaluate you. You can create your own questions, where your slides informative and clearly written, have them judge your presentation skills, have them free text feedback. And, it goes a long way. It really shows the impact that you're having amongst the trainees or faculty. If you're giving presentations for faculty, it doesn't have to be an institution certified evaluation for it to be documented. You can create your own and then submit them as part of your promotion packet. I've done that for myself.
Great. Okay. So obviously, that you're known around your institution, but many others do not. So what kinds of things can you do? What kind of strategies can you do to become known outside of your institution? Obviously, publishing and presenting your work at meetings, joining professional societies. I know that early in my career, I didn't want to be bothered because I was so busy, but it's really important to get known in your area. And then, after a while, you just tell them, vote for Pedro, because, it's Pedro, or something. So that's good, where you become familiar with other people and they with you. Correspond with people that whose work interests are similar to yours. You could collaborate, and you never know where that's going to end up. Agree to review grants and journal articles. Again, time is of essence. So you can't do it all, but be specific about the things that you agree to do if you see that it'd be helpful for both parties. At our school, we have to be very careful about speaking to the media. We have to get consents and permission. So be careful. It is an important thing that for service for the community, but make sure that you get the right consents if you need to at your institution. So anything you say can and will be used against you. So be very careful. But you could become, the face of the school on a certain topic or things like that. And then, of course, to get to be known more around is join national groups, collaborative research studies, for example. Okay, next.
We wanted to show you, I think Pedro mentioned earlier that the spaces in between promotion, the cycles are really long. The actual promotion cycle itself, the year where you're going to be promoted, is also kind of long. And you can see in this slide the UT Southwestern kind of promotion cycle. We are on a September 1st to last day of August budget year at UT Southwestern. So everything kind of starts happening on September. So September 1st of the year before you are going to be promoted, the division chief or the departmental committee makes some recommendations to the chair, along with sending some CVs and some initial kind of statements about each of the faculty that we think should be going up for promotion under each of the categories, right? And then between September 1st and October 1st, the chair kind of goes back and forth until October 1st, when the names are due to the dean. And then there are two cycles. There's an early group and a later group at UT Southwestern. So we have between October 15th and December 1st to kind of submit those entire packets to the dean's office. The dean's office then kind of looks at how many people are going to be going up for promotion, and they divide the packets amongst all the promotion and tenure group members. And we have a promotion and tenure committee that is about 50 people strong. We promote about 200 faculty every year. So it's a big amount of work. And then sometime around December, we start, late November, December, we start meeting. We meet about once a week. Usually it's at night, and we review a variety of people. Every faculty who goes for promotion to the associate professor level gets one reviewer. The people that are going up for promotion to the full professor level, they get two reviewers, and everybody with tenure gets two reviewers as well. So we meet, and then there are votes that are confidential votes. We have an audience response system. We then notify the dean of the recommendations, and the dean makes a final decision to approve a promotion or not approve it. They usually go with a consensus of the promotion and tenure committee. They notify the chair, and then the chair usually tells the faculty, but your promotion is not active until September 1st, so the next academic year. So it takes about a year for you to go through the entire promotion cycle. Next.
So here's a long list that Nelson got together for us, and we're not going to have time to go through this, but I think it's a really, really good resource for development, professional development. And those links work. So if they're going to if you guys are going to use them, I think they're quite helpful. And there's another page that we have. So starting with the I don't think I'll go through all of them, but the American Medical Colleges has one, American Medical Association, the National Hispanic Medical Association, the Career Learning Center there, BenGap, it's near and dear to most of our hearts, where we have, many of us have learned a lot of things about professional development through this resource. And then there are other resources, University of California in San Francisco, noted there, the Academy of Medical Educators, and Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra. Just to finish it off, as far as, a few resources, there are other resources at Harvard Macy Institute at that website. And of course, MedEd portal. And there are generalists in medical education folks. And then there is an executive leadership in academic medicine, or ELAM, that can help with professional development as a resource.
Great. And just before we jump to the next slide, maybe we should touch on, Dr. Romero wrote in the chat box that some promotion obstacles. She's looking to be promoted from assistant to associate. She wrote, meeting academic goals while maintaining productivity goals. Do you want to share any advice with that concern?
Yeah, I think if we go 2 slides from here, I think I'll give you some tips based on kind of some of the obstacles that I faced, and I think we can talk about it then.
Okay. And if anyone else that joined late wants to add any questions or that we can discuss later, please enter them in the chat and I'll circle back in a moment. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to participate in another question. So what Latina, Latinx related work do you think can facilitate promotion? people that are participating, what work that you have been doing or you're interested in doing. What do you think can facilitate promotion? Any community service work with students, faculty, research? Does anyone's group have any thoughts about that?
You guys are quiet today.
Yeah. Maybe the end of the day fatigue.
Yeah.
Or all the patients are piling up wherever they are, like, oh my gosh, got to get my RVUs and my press scanning scores up. Okay, so yeah, so think about what you're doing at your local medical school. Are you involved with your LMSA chapter? Are students approaching you about wanting to assess health disparities within the local community? How can, your mentorship of those activities or work with the students, make sure you document what you're doing. Think about how you can translate work that you're doing with students or the community into a scholarly publication. I think a lot of times we're doing a lot of work, but we're not documenting it well, right? And these are things we're going to have to show. Like, you can't just say when you're up for promotion in your personal statement, I'm doing all this stuff. It really is better reflected by a durable resource. Did you produce an abstract? Did you present a poster at a conference about the work that you're doing? Is there a peer-reviewed publication, a commentary in a journal? What durable resource can you show as a product for the work that you're doing? Joining regional, national organizations such as NHMA, LMSA, Hispanic Serving Health Profession Schools, and be an active participant, right? Take on leadership roles, join committees, network, don't just sign up and not play an active role. Really grow your network and show that you're being an active participant. Again, network among trainees, network among faculty members, serve as a mentor. Again, document all of the trainees or faculty members that you're serving as a mentor for. And as I mentioned before, you can create little evaluation forms. See if your institution has them. Just so you can document feedback that you'll receive from your mentees about what great a job you're doing, and make note of how they're progressing, right? If you mentor a trainee, starts off as a medical student, and in a few years they match in a very competitive residency due to some of the research or the teaching initiatives you worked on together. That's something you need to document on your CV. Like, I mentored so-and-so, they're now resident here, or they are now junior faculty at this institution, right? That goes a long way in terms of your promotion packet.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a few things that helped me. I mean, I was promoted relatively early in my life. I was actually in maternity leave when I got promoted to associate professor. So I wasn't even working clinically, and I was super happy. So understanding the process is crucial, right? The rules of engagement. This is what the university, the institution that you're at, is going to hold you accountable to. And this is what the promotion and tenure kind of looks like at when they are looking at your packet. They're trying to kind of see if you meet the criteria. Really, the committee is there to try to get you promoted, right? But they also want to know that the department did the due diligence in kind of putting the right person for promotion. So they're really not trying to obstruct the process, but they're trying to kind of apply the rules and make sure that you meet all the rules. So it's important to know what are the requirements and what's the relative weight of each of those requirements in the clinical area that you're at. So again, that's super important. Networking, especially when you're going up for a full professor, networking outside of your department, outside of your institution is important. The university wants to know that you give value to the patients, that you bring patients to the institution, that people see you as an expert, that they will refer you patients, and that you are interacting with other people outside of the institution. That brings reputation to the institution. institution. To me, finding mentors, sponsors, advisors, and like-minded people was very important. And I've had some mentors that have been with me all my career. I've had people that come and go in different portions of my career. But finding those people who are your sounding boards, who are going to open doors for you, who are going to help you, who will bring you in when they have a research project or when they have something that will give value to your career. They are writing a chapter or they have an opportunity to give a grant rounds and they will bring you along. Early on, more than now, volunteering and showing up was really important. So, and I know there's a little bit of a risk benefit, right? You are very busy early on. You're trying to kind of establish yourself as a clinician, but there has to be a little bit of volunteering. I would say that not all of everything that I did paid off to me. But that's okay. You know, I volunteer for some things that ended up in publications, ended up with fantastic kind of mentoring relationships. And then I spent some other times volunteering for things that ended up in nothing. They fizzled and I didn't like what I was doing. And I just used it as a learning opportunity, right? I cannot be 100% right all the time in the things that I volunteer for, but try to find the things that you're passionate about and that give you kind of that spirit of this is important to me, or I'm doing something important for my career, and then volunteer and focus your volunteering into those areas. Also find things that are important for your department, right? And for your department chair, because ultimately that's a person that's going to put you up for promotion. For service, you know, again, you know, when you join institutions and when you join organizations, find what's valuable to you and what's also valuable to the institution or to that organization, and try to align as many things as you can, so that you're not feeling that you're just doing service for service, but that it is important to you. Meeting deadlines and being reliable is important because it leads to more invitations. It leads to more people kind of shaking hands with you and pulling you kind of forward. So if you commit to something, make sure that you do it well, make sure that you do it on time, right? That's very important. Being a good colleague. And I don't say kind of this is, I need to be nice to everyone, but I need to be a person that people want to work with. And that whenever somebody asks them, how's Larissa? Is she a good colleague? That they can say for sure that I'm a good person to work with and that they enjoy kind of working with me. I think paying it forward is super important. So as I've grown in my career and as I move from associate to full professor, developing others has been very important to me. One, for succession planning, and two, because I think it's your legacy, right? You know, you at some point are going to retire. So you want to make sure that those behind you are taken care of. And we have something at UT Southwestern. We do grant rounds, but we also do a junior grant rounds. And we used to give money to the people that would come to do grant rounds, but now what we do is we tell them, bring a junior faculty that you want to develop from your institution, that you want to give them an opportunity to give grant rounds at UT Southwestern, bring them with you and we'll pay their way, right? So instead of giving the money to you, we give it to a junior faculty that needs, you know, those invitations to get promoted. And then sharing. I will not write a chapter. I will not write an article. I will not engage in something if I cannot bring somebody with me as an author or in a grant, if I'm writing a grant. So it's important to kind of make sure that if you can bring others into a project, that you identify those people and you bring them with you. Next.
Okay, so do you want to take this, Nelson, or you want me to take it?
Doesn't matter. Sure.
Go for
it. Just a quick reminder of some takeaway messages. Know what is expected of you, right? So speak to your division chief. If you know currently assistant, know what is expected to become associate. If you're associate, know what is expected for you to become a full professor, so that you're prepared, right? And you can get promoted on time. Check in annually. Usually at my hostel, we get an annual review with my service chief. Check in annual, just so you know, are you Are you meeting the goalpost? So you're on track to get promoted in a timely manner. If you're falling behind, what do you need to do to catch up? If they think that you're ahead of schedule, can you go up as soon as possible? You know, if a minimum of 3 years is all you need and you're there, why wait 5 years, right? Just go up for promotion as soon as possible. Make a timeline just to make sure you're staying on track. Also, you have to decide how best to direct your efforts in the time you have, right? Don't overcommit to too many things so that you potentially fall behind and not meet the goals that you outlined for yourself. Always revisit your timeline and your plan to course correct as appropriate. Document. Like we mentioned, a lot of activities you think, oh, I probably don't need to document that. But any like bedside teaching, community service activities, write it down. Try to get evaluation feedback for all the like things that you consider like little or not important. You'll be surprised how important it is to document all of them. They really do add up. Make yourself known within your institution, regionally, nationally, so people know who you are, and they can further value all the great work that you're doing. And be flexible. I think that could be interpreted in a lot of ways. Maybe as Dr. Velez mentioned, volunteer for certain things, and they won't all pan out. They may not all like lead to a big research grant or a publication. But especially early on in your career, you have to take some risk and see how things play out.
So I'd like to share one thing that I heard, and it's served me well in my process of promotion, is don't make yourself irreplaceable. Make yourself indispensable. If you're irreplaceable, you're not promotable. So if you think of yourself as that has really, really helped my career, I think.
Great. Any final thoughts or questions? Dr. Romero, were we able to help?
And anyone here, I am more than happy. My email is there, and I'm sure Pedro
Yes.
and Nelson are the same. If you want to touch base with us, if you want us to take a look at your CV, if you want to brainstorm ideas, if you kind of are passionate about writing or passionate about speaking, and you think that you're hitting a wall and you just you're not finding those invitations, let us know. I mean, the world of academic medicine and Hispanics is really small. So I'm happy to try to connect you with whoever to try to help you with your career.
Likewise.
Same here.
Thank you.
All right, so we will conclude this session, and we look forward to seeing everyone at the future LMSA events over the next few days. All right.
Thank you very much,
Dr. Velez and
everyone.
Dr.
Thanks,
Garcia.
guys. Great working with you guys.
Have a great day. Likewise.
Bye-bye.